In this video, I'm going to be talking about The Wheel of Time, both books and the show, because while the books are phenomenal, the show is a disgrace to them. Before you start typing in angry comments, the same people who defend the show are the same people who criticize the Rings of Power. I know what you're thinking. Do it. Why do I always have to voice the blasted people and get this inconsistent voice? Do it, and please don't say that with potential viewers. Fine. But bloody Rings of Power shames the amazing culture Tolkien created! So does a watch show. I don't feel like I'm in Rhineland. I'm in the United States in the 1800s, but with magic. But bloody Rings of Power shames the amazing characters Tolkien created. So does a watch show. A few being parent killing his wife, Rand and Egwene having a back and forth romantic relationship that complicates Rand's already complicated love story. Tom Adams is pressing. Rings of Power still felt like Lord of the Rings, while the Watch Show felt like Game of Thrones. I could keep on going on and back and forth, but that's not what today's video is about. Today's video is about race and orientation swapping, because while that would have been acceptable for many other shows, it doesn't correspond with the theme and atmosphere of the Wheel of Time books. This is why race and orientation swapping doesn't work for the Wheel of Time. Reason number 1. It weakens the cultures and doesn't correspond with the story. The Wheel of Time consists of more than 20 nations, each having its own culture. They also share common genes. These genes help us recognize each culture, because the second we look at them we know it's a nation. Robert Jordan may fully realize nations, besides the language part, but he already was very well ahead of his time and passed the bar by a large margin. So even without much depth in the languages, it is a very deep world. One nation has fire, hair, and pale skin, whose clothes and location are like that of the Middle East, yet its traditions are unique. Wait, they live in the desert, so why do they have pale skin? They weren't here for a long time. Something happened that caused this place to be a desert or caused them to go to the desert. It is isolated and they never come out, except during the Aiel War, but that was for vengeance. Almost like a jail cell. They were probably banished there. The looks are important because they respond to the logic of the deeper lore. Even in modern times, with all our amazingly fast transportation, you will have a dominant race in every country. In America, more than 4/5 of the people you'd see would be Caucasian, even though this nation runs by immigrants. In today's world, you'd see people move all the time because it's so easy and you don't have to worry about abandoning your families when you can call them in a second or get to them in a day. So imagine how dominant the native races would be in the Wheel of Time, where you can't travel quickly or always have an instant connection. Immigration rates would be very low. So how in the world would the two rivers, such an isolated village, have such diversity in looks? All of them share the same hair, the same eyes, the same skin. There should be almost no people coming in and out, so they'll eventually end up being identical. When readers read The Eye of the World, they know Rand stands out. This is an isolated village, and everyone has dark eyes and dark hair. So what would Rand, someone who has light eyes and light hair, be doing here? He must have come from somewhere else. He's an outsider. White Cloaks are a military group. They come from various nations. They stand out with so much diversity. You know they aren't a nation. You see what I'm getting here? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't feel like a whole different world with recognizable cultures. It doesn't correspond with the story. Orientation swapping does the same effect because most LGBTQ people would be from the White Tower. Since they're isolated from men and were put into a long, rigorous training and are going to cause them to develop feelings for each other and relax the tension of such hard times. Reason number 2. It is offensive to cast people of different races into different characters. One or two, I suppose, is fine, but more than half the cast is different. Robert Jordan's world is very diverse and large, but with no recognizable cultures, it just feels like one nation, one culture, not that of many cultures. The Wheel of Time books are about someone who unites various cultures in his world to defeat the Shadow. The show is about someone who leads a bunch of people who are at war for no cultural reasons to defeat the Shadow. You spend hours into a character only to have some guy change everything that made him good/unique in your mind. You created such a powerful character to strengthen a team. Maybe you created a lower caste boy who has to show that blood doesn't mean everything. You assign looks to each caste to make them recognizable and to showcase how this world treats the other people by their genetics. But then some guy decides to remove the distinct race and just scatter them across all of his cast. But then the whole theme is gone. Isn't this about how blood doesn't mean everything and now an entire theme is removed for no necessary reason? Just why? If an East Asian got cast as Harry Potter, a black boy as Ron, and an Indian girl as Hermione, you'd be upset, wouldn't you? What's wrong with a race Harry already got? This movie director is a disgrace. This movie is gonna suck. I wouldn't blame you for thinking that, because why did you assign such random races to these characters in such a high budget show product? So much for the story taking place in Britain. Same goes to LGBTQ plus. Moraine is straight. Yes, she and Swan shared a bed, but in a literal sense, that doesn't mean they're lesbian. They share no interest in women in the books and only in men. Moraine would get with a man, and Swan with a man too in the books. If you put Swan and Moraine in a romantic relationship, what are you doing? We're gonna go do with those men? Put them together, and you're suggesting that LGBTQ plus relationships are better. Give them different people, then you're saying that whenever two people are close, say they're to develop romantic relationships, and they shouldn't have gotten men. If you still give them their respective men in the books, then you're suggesting that LGBTQ plus relationships don't work out. I could go on, but they all end up in the same conclusion that the show writers are saying that straight and LGBTQ plus relationships are not equal. Straight and LGBTQ plus people are equal. That's the whole message many of those LGBTQ plus media are trying to spread. They aren't trying to spread inequality. At this point, it is like Rafe Judkins is trying to make it LGBTQ plus and racial representation show. And that brings me to my next point, that buying rights to the Wheel of Time is unnecessary for the message they want to spread. Reason number 3. This shouldn't even be a Wheel of Time show. There are far few similarities to make this an adaptation, yet it has the same characters by name and a similar structure. Changing names won't take a while. They had so much difficulty keeping the structure together. How about not making a Wheel of Time show? This clearly has a different name, different characters, different cultures, different motives. Not even a magic system is the same for all the blood and ashes I gave to Hubert Cumberdale. This is no adaptation of the main 14 books. Rings of Power and can be different because this show takes place in a time period different from that of any Middle Earth book and has a lot of different characters. It is a new story. This show is a new story. They should be giving the responsibility to make a Wheel of Time to show someone else. Someone else whose job is to not make an entire new story, but to rather breathe life into a already great story. The Wheel of Time books, like I already mentioned, are about uniting all the various and divided cultures in this world. This shows about the relationships between the people of different races and orientations. But the point is, this is not a Wheel of Time show, and it shouldn't be, because the show creators have such a different vision for Robert Jordan's. Maybe they thought they could combine their favorite book series and get their ideas into one day, and that could have worked, but not as a literal adaptation. I get a lot of my influences from Robert Jordan, Brandon Sanderson, whatever. I'm writing my book, but technically books, but I put those words that halt. But point is, this doesn't work, and it is time to conclude this video. In conclusion, Robert Jordan crafted some amazing books, and his show creators have some good ideas, but a mistake is when they try to combine them all in order to make an adaptation. It doesn't work. It hurts the cultures and logic Robert Jordan crafted, and it's also offensive to race and orientation thought. This is no adaptation, this is an entirely different show, and they're distancing from the books more and more. So, don't make this a Wheel of Time show. Either keep those two things separate or give it to someone you trust, bring it to life, and work on your own idea instead. Anyways, thanks for watching, and wait. What is it? You're forgetting something. To like an... No, not that. We don't bloody dramatize such a simple action. What are we, major YouTubers who don't understand how much unnecessary effort is taken into making an annoying action that drags the video? No, the blasted merchandise and sponsors. 1/3 of a big YouTuber's video is just bloody promotion. And please, give me a bloody consistent voice. Oh wait, we're dragging this right now. And we also watch the same YouTuber as you're describing, and I will give you a consistent voice eventually. Anyways, what is it? That blasted show of Velma got renewed for a second season. Why? Because even though it was so bad, people still watch it because... You're a genius, Shadow Dude. Are sure you don't want to be called by your actual name? I always have been. And he didn't let me finish. Anyway, Shadow Dude here just reminded me of something. When you're making an adaptation of something that never got one in the media you're doing, sometimes the only thing you have to worry about is reeling the new viewers in. Because look, us Wheel of Time fans will always watch whatever the show is throwing at us, no matter how bad we think it is. And because it is our favorite book series here. Maybe you'll create an essay to prove how this show should stop, or maybe one on how this show disrupts the original teachings this book created, like what I'm doing right now. We'll always be there. Scooby-Doo fans will probably keep watching Velma to keep track of whatever that monstrosity is creating. Already, these two things are getting a lot of viewers. Now, just to be safe and get more seasons and money, they need to reel in some more viewers. The Wheel of Time show creators are reeling in those who care a lot about diversity, while the creators of Velma are reeling in those who care a lot about Adult Swim. That is one clever strategy there, because even though almost nobody's going to be hiring them after this, guess what? Their wallet's already full. They can retire early and relax. This show isn't supposed to be good for the Wheel of Time fans. This is supposed to be good for the new viewers. Alright, maybe they did it by accident, or perhaps they'll keep denying that. But the point is simple. These shows aren't getting renewed because of quality, they're getting renewed simply because they have hands on some of the most legendary creations. They are going to win unless they're actually trying to make it bad, which it feels like they are. So perhaps toss in the fanfics, or maybe some ideas they thought would never make it. Who knows? Maybe they aren't trying to satisfy new viewers, they're trying to satisfy themselves. So many things going on here, but it all ends on a single conclusion. Keep your fanfiction and completely different ideas separate, or else it'll consume the original story. Shadow Dude, wanted to do the outro with me? Can I please call you by your real?
Thanks for watching, and we'll
see you next time. Bye.
Bye.